3, 2, 1, go!
G'day, it's Kris, and we're going to be doing a Path of Exile Crucible League build guide. We're going to be doing it on Cold Convert Champion for the Exploding Totem. I've been enjoying this build for about 2 weeks now, and I've got to a somewhat decent spot, but it's not completed on my end yet. But it is definitely at the point where it's obvious that it's a good build, so let's get into it. I'll zoom my camera down and get into my Totem Build character. Now, the way I'm doing this Totem Build is converting all my physical damage from the Totem explosion itself into cold. And I do that through a number of ways. One is my gloves has cold convert on it. I would love to get my bow to have cold convert onto it, but it's not there yet. And we have our Totem Explode. Now the other totem mod I would love to have is a chance to shoot 2 totems instead of 1. Now we get that a little bit in our tree through our Totem Mastery. That gives us 30% chance to summon 2 totems instead of 1. This is good because the more totems we summon, the more damage we can do with our totems. We summon our totems by throwing down our trap support for the totem itself in our thing. Here's our totem, Devouring Totem. It can also be a Rejuvenation Totem, but Devouring Totem with 20% quality. As you can see on the right there, it increases Totem Life by 20%. So it's a pretty obvious pick. All totems have the same life. It's just based on the level of the gem. And my gem level is 28 because of my amulet and the empowerment support. And if I had level 4 empowerment support base, my gem would be 29 right now. If I had cold convert on my bow, it would be fantastic, but an alternative to using the Redeemer bow is by going into essences and using the Sorrow essence, which gives us cold resistance penetration. Now you just buy a bunch of the highest level one and just spam it on your bow, until you get +1 socket, 1 free prefix, and the penetration of gold. And that's great. So let's dig into the path of building, just so we get a little bit of a more clearer sense of what items that would be perfect, but we don't in fact have. So right here we have Devouring Diadem. We get this through June missions. Unfortunately, I was very unlucky and couldn't get Devouring Diadem at all. But that is not the end of the world, because we would eventually replace Devouring Diadem with a item like Heatshiver. The reason why I want to use Heatshiver is because it converts all of our cold damage into extra fire damage. So now that we've got all our physical damage to cold, we're now adding extra fire damage on top, which gives us way more damage. But I'm not currently using Heatshiver in my build because it only has evasion rating. And we use, if we go to the tree here, all the way up here, we use Eldritch Battery. Now this makes us use our energy shield before our mana to cast spells, which means we need lots of energy shield, and unfortunately Heatshiver has no energy shield, which kind of makes it hard to use it. So the way that we get around this, if we were to use Heatshiver, is to use Slave Driver's Hand, which causes our trap skills to use life instead of mana. Now this can be quite dangerous because it would start using our life, and if we use it improperly, it could lead to our death in circumstances where we can't lifesteal enough. Now this build, we do use Life Leech, which we get from the physical damage that we deal from the exploding totem itself. So whenever our totem explodes using this, we get a percentage of that life back. And we get this from our skill tree. Usually, let me go to the tree. Right here with Blood Drinker, we get 2% of life on kill, and through our weapons, we also have the life and energy shield on kill. This is very important for getting our energy shield, which is our mana back on kill. And we also can use, where is it? This one right here, Clever Thief, which leeches 1% of attack damage as life and as mana. But where we usually get it from actually is on our rings. So each of our rings, we get 0.36% of our life back as life leech from our physical damage. And of course, we do a lot of physical damage from our totems. Now you may be wondering, how much damage do our totems actually do? Well, we head into the calculation screen, we select our Devouring Totem, and we look at our totem life. And it says right here, it is 14,170. So we go to our calculator and we put in 14,000. So that is our totem's life. Now, how much damage does the totem actually do? It is 25% less of this life. So we multiply this by 0.75. That's how much damage it does at its base. We then multiply this by 8 because that's 800% of this damage. So this is our base physical damage that our totem would do with absolutely no enhancement. 84k. But we are not enhancing our build. We are converting it to cold. So we look at our tree, and we look at our tree right here. We have Cold Mastery, convert 40% to cold damage. This is very important. We also have Winter Spirit, which is another 10% to cold damage. So 50% of our physical damage is now converted to cold, so half that. But that isn't all, because if we go back to our character, we then convert 34% right here. Or alternatively, if we don't have a glove with cold convert on it, we can use the unique glove Hymn Sorrow, which is this one, which converts 100% of physical damage to cold damage. So that means in our calculator right here, it would become all cold, and when we go over 100%, it actually increases our damage. So if we convert 100 or 200% to cold damage, we then double our damage straight up. So that's where we get our cold damage from and how it works. Now, if we had our heatshiver leather hood on, we would then double our damage, with half of it being cold and the other half of it being fire from heatshiver itself. Now, I'm pretty sure once something gets 100% chill effect, it becomes frozen and loses the chill effect. So the most we can get from this is 100% extra fire damage. But when you have your build completed, like my build is getting pretty close to completed, you use Enlightenment with the auras Herald of Ash, Herald of Ice, Herald of Purity, Grace, and Determination. Our Grace and Determination are our defensive auras that gives us a lot of physical resistance and a lot of evasion. And our Herald of Ash and our Herald of Ice gives us increased damage. We get an extra 15% damage for our cold damage for Herald of Ice, which is fairly negligible. We do not get the added cold damage or added spell cold damage because that technically does not add to our build. So we don't get any deals extra cold damage at all from Herald of Ice. We just get that flat 15% buff. However, with Herald of Ash, it converts our physical damage to extra fire damage. So that means 15% of our physical damage now becomes extra fire damage, which is very good because it adds on top of our Hymn Sorrow. Other ways we deal extra damage is through extra physical damage as extra chaos damage on our boots and on our quiver itself, which gives us 12% of physical damage as extra chaos damage. And we can also convert using the Crusader mod to more cold damage. So we get 25% here, we get an extra 34% here, and if we had our bow correctly, we can get up to 40%, I believe. Let me look at my bow that I made. The Marrakech bow right here, we get, it's only 20%. I think that's the max. Let me just head into the crafter for it. I gotta find it again. There it is. Yeah, that's the maximum we can get is the 20%. So what was that all again? We got 25, 35, and 20. So that's 45 and 35. So that would be 50, 70, 80, 80% cold convert from our gear. And then we have the extra 50% from the tree itself using these two. So we have around 120% cold convert. So we go here and we multiply this by 1.2. That is our now cold damage that we deal. And we can multiply that by 2 for our fire and cold damage that we deal. And we have our extra chaos damage, which is negligible at 12%. So we times that by 1.12. This is our base damage per totem that we throw. However, we are leaving out one vital add to the step, which is our Hatred Aura. Now, our Hatred Aura is amplified by Divine Blessing, which increases the aura effect by 29% of the base aura effect, and the base aura effect is 26% at level 21. If we were lucky, we could get this aura gem to 22, but I did not get lucky, and I believe that would make it 27% of physical damage as extra chaos damage. But that's not all with this extra 30% aura effect, because in our tree itself, we have several aura buffs with our charisma and the increased effect. Plus we have 8% increased damage per aura affecting us. And because we have a lot of auras affecting us, we can even have vitality. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 auras affecting us. Now, I don't think the Defiance banner helps us with the aura adding, but that's 6 times 8, which is approximately 48% increased damage. So we'll just round up to 50% to be easier. We then have all of our frenzy charges, which gives us bonus damage because of in our tree right here, we can get the charge mastery, which increases damage by 3% per charge, as well as the Discipline of Slaughter, which increases our damage per frenzy charge by 8%. And we have around 6 frenzy charges, because we don't get a bonus there, but we get one here. We get another one up here, and our third one over here, once we have our tree all sorted out. So if we head to our calculations here, we can see all of our aura buffs and stuff here. It's a bit small on the screen, so I'll zoom in for you guys, but I have to move closer for myself to see. And we can see that our aura buff right here, we get 13% more physical damage from our Herald of Purity, and we get 57% in change from our Hatred, and 42% more cold damage. So what we do is we basically can go to our calculator, we times this by 1.57 for our Hatred bonus, and then times it by about, well, I'm not sure how much cold extra we get. We get 42, so it'll be 1.42 for our cold. We then have our extra cold damage and extra physical damage on our tree. We have this one, which is penetration, but also we don't use that one because I just haven't taken it off yet. We use this one over here, which is Snow Forged, which gives us 25%, 16%, and 8%. So that is another 49%, plus we penetrate 5% of elemental resistances. I'm not going to add that, so go back to our calculations. And we should be able to see this on the tree here. It doesn't seem to want to show the tree bonuses there. Maybe somewhere else will show us it. Here it is. No, that's damaging hits. I want to see spell damage that we deal to stuff. Oh well. I can't see it quite quickly because I'm not an expert at how this whole tree works to find the calculations to do it manually. I would love it if POB would eventually add it. They have added Crucible mods, so we can add the totem right here, saying it does extra damage, but even if we save this and we go back to calculations, it doesn't actually show us the damage of the skill. So we have to approximate it. So let's just say it's around an extra 50% more cold and fire damage together. So let's multiply this by about, whoops, I need to be 1.5. So this is approximately how much damage each of our totems do when they explode, which is 750k. But that is not all. As I've said before, we can get our totems to spawn 2 at once, and we notice we throw like 3 or 4 up to 5 traps per time. And each time those traps can actually hit a creature. So we open up our map here, we head into our little conquest fight, and we head out. So here is a group of enemies. We're not going to use that. They are all attacking us, and if we throw our traps, they all explode and hit every single enemy that explodes in the radius. But when there is only one creature, we occasionally only get 1 or 2 traps exploding. So it kind of makes it hard to work out how much damage we do without traps themselves. If we just hold down right click, we throw about 4 traps per second. Each trap has 5 traps. So we can essentially guess that we can have 20 totems spawning if all of them hit. So that means we go back to our calculator and we can approximately say that we can multiply it by 20, and this would give us our average DPS per second, which is around 15 million. But this is a very optimistic case. That assumes that every single trap procs and every single totem explodes. But we know for a fact that only one totem cannot explode, so we're realistically going to have a lot less than this. I reckon we divide this by 2. This is a more accurate DPS per second, about 7.5 million damage. And that's from cold convert with extra fire damage if we had the fire damage helmet on. but we don't in this case, so we can pretty much divide this by 2, and this is how much damage that we deal with just pure cold convert, which is 3,750k, which is still very damn good considering. So basically what we do in our actual map, we would start up our 2 flasks, which is our Azuri's Promise, which gives us extra chaos damage during the effect, as well as some extra damage leech. And we also start up our movement speed flask, and we just run around the map and we just go as fast as we can, throwing about 1 trap per group that we see, and each group will die. And we just activate our hatred whenever we do it, and we can guarantee that we're dealing a lot of damage to all the creatures. As you can see, everything dies very smoothly, and there's not much of a problem whatsoever. We also have the curse, which is elemental weakness, which reduces their elemental resistances by 30%, which is really good. We use Stone Golem to give us some passive regen when we're not life leeching, which is very helpful. If we were using regeneration totems, we would get some healing from the regeneration totem, but it's very glitchy, so you can't rely on it. And we use a Vitality, which gives us just a tiny little bit of healing, but that tiny little bit of healing helps, as well as it gives us 8% extra damage per aura, which I did not add to the calculations at all. And I didn't add all of the charges to my calculations either. We also have Enduring Cry, which gives us a bit more physical resistance. So we move to a pack here, we Enduring Cry, we throw down all our things, and we can see how many charges we get. So we have 5 Frenzy, 3 power charges, and 3 enduring charges. And that's approximately what our charges would be. We can head to our charges here. We saw my HP go down to 0 and back up to full from the lifesteal. So we get a bunch of physical reduction from our endurance charges. From our frenzy charges, we get our damage plus. And from our power charges, we don't really get anything. So we just get our base percentage extra if we had this checked down here, which I don't have because I am not at max level. I'm at 95 with 5 more levels. One would be here. I would remove these 3 from here and I would put them here for the physical damage, which would increase our base physical damage, which increases our base damage. And I would add them also here to increase our cold and fire damage. And I would have heatshiver. But like I said, in order to make heatshiver work, we would need to have more energy shield throughout our build. We would want it on pretty much every single spot that we can get it. Because otherwise the only energy shield we would get would be from the Tinker skin itself, which I do need to talk about. As you can see, our Tinker skin recovers 50 energy every time a trap is triggered, and our traps pretty much always get triggered. It also gives us frenzy charges from our traps being triggered. It gives us phasing so that we can run through our enemies, and also increases the cooldown recovery rate for throwing traps, which means we can throw our traps faster, which is great. On our items themselves, on our effects that we would like, for our helmet, on a rare helmet, we want to be penetrating cold resistance and increasing the effect of our elemental weakness. So it goes from being 30% to 40%, which is great. On our gloves, we want to be able to convert to physical damage when a unique is round, which means that we do extra damage to uniques, which is great. The Searing Exile mod on our gloves aren't very useful. We want a trigger commandment on our gloves, preferably on hit, doing the light commandment, because that's the best one. On our boots, we want regenerate life per second if we're hit, which means when we get hit, we get our life regen up so we can stay full of health. And on our rings themselves, we want them to be vermilion rings, so we get lots of extra life and lots of life, and we want to cap our resistances here. And if we can get some chaos resistance, it's really good. If we can get them on our bow and our quiver, it's the best spot for them. But we really just want to increase our life and our resistances as much as we can from the places where we can get them, so that we can have more uniques in the build. On our rare amulet, we want to allocate sovereignty if we do not have Ashes to the Stars. However, if we have Ashes of the Stars, or we're just using a bit more inefficient build where we get 3 spots here to use the Mana Mastery to get 8% more, 12% more mana reservation efficiency for skills, this pretty much will make us not need to get the Sovereignty aura right here, which is great because it increases the effect of our non-curse auras and it also gives us mana reservation efficiency for skills. But we can replace that with this one down here with Mana Mastery, or if we had Ashes of the Stars, so we go back here, which is right here, Ashes of the Stars, gives us 13 all attributes, but also gives us percent quality to all skill gems, which means we get an extra 25% life to our totem skills. Plus the 15% increased reservation efficiency of skills allows us to allocate Primal Manifestation. So if we head back over here, Primal Manifestation is 30% more totem life. So basically that would give us an extra 55% totem life, which if we go back to our base totem life, which was 1400, we can times this by about 1.55, and this would be our base totem life if we had all the things correctly. So let me just leave this, head back over here now that we have our, where is it? Ashes equipped. We can head back over to calculations and verify how much totem life we have. And it looks like I was completely wrong because I did the math wrong. Understandable. That's why we always go back to POB. We would have 16,650 as our starting life. I understand where I went wrong. I was multiplying it onto the final product instead of the base life, which is actually 3,773. So we would have it be this much. Whoops. Where is it? Yeah. This would be our base totem life right here, if we have all of our equipment correct. Now, my tree will be in the description below. I need to tweak it in just a little bit because I forgot to have this one have the increased area of trap, which means we're over leveled, but I'll probably just take away some more of these life mods. I would definitely not have these ones. I would have the physical masteries because this just allows us to penetrate elemental resistances, but these two mods do nothing, whereas these two mods increase our damage by 28%, plus we get the overwhelmed physical damage reduction, as well as an extra 30% damage to our build, just purely from this. Now, my calculations that I was using for my build back here, they aren't exact at all. I am not a professional when it comes to knowing the difference between additive multiplication and multiplicative addition. So this could be off by about a degree of 10. This could be off by literally that much, but I don't think we're anywhere close to 1.5 million damage overall. I think that's a bit ludicrously low. I'd say we're probably more around, like I said, 3 million to 5 million damage per second. So that's been my build. I got the idea from Grip, and he was using Cold Convert on his Ruthless character. I just basically turned all the knobs I could to 11, and this is where I got to. For your belt, you just want life and resistances, and you want the Hypnotic Eye Jewel that gives you Corrupted Blood cannot be affected on you. I believe there's one other implicit that's better than cannot be mained, because that's pretty much a nothing ability. Also, we use Jewels. Jewels are really good in this build because it gives us maximum life as well as totem life. So if you can get like 10% totem life on each of these, that's 10% extra damage, which is really good. But of course, that's going to require a lot of investment to get those jewels just right. but that's where you're going to get a very good bonus to your damage. One thing you do need to be worried about is your intelligence. As you can see, if I take my helmet off, I don't have enough intelligence to use my Frostbomb gem. So I have to unequip Frostbomb, re-equip my helmet before I can use Frostbomb again. Why we use Frostbomb is because it inflicts cold exposure, which is great for us because we do cold damage. But as we use the heat convert as extra fire damage, it kinda gets all lost in the wash. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I tried to cover everything I can. If you have any questions, ask them below. Big camera. I'll see you guys. It's Kris. Gear day. Have a good one.
It is champion against champion.
Your champion
Yes.
obliterate.
Until the other arrives to challenge me for this realm.